Hey there, folks, and welcome to a special Trek Tonight. We are here to talk about the Artemis launch, November 16th, 2022. Hopefully, as Keith said to me moments ago, we're going to light this candle tonight. We will be sharing the screen once there's something to really share. We have that. Let's see here. This is what we're going to be looking at. Some reason I couldn't just get that whole thing as a to just clip this. I don't know why I couldn't do that, but still we'll get to bring you the action, and all of that. So how are you, Keith?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. How's that, Len? I'm excellent even. I had cataract surgery today.
Really?
Yes. I got a brand new eye over here.
Wow.
So much so that look. No lens.
No lens. Yeah,
No
look
lens.
at that.
Still a lens there though.
Look at that. Yeah, I've known people who have had that and have been slaves to their glasses their whole lives, and then all of a sudden they have cataract surgery and the glasses are like they lay forgotten.
Yes, and biggest thing I'm noticing so far, it's still kind of new. I think it's still, they're still waiting for the lens to settle in, as it were.
Right.
But the biggest thing I'm noticing right away is there's a color balance difference between my two eyes now.
Really?
Yes. The
Wow.
not only is it brighter in this eye, but it's colder. It's, if I look at a white sheet of paper, with what I had, with the original eye,
Right.
it now looks yellow compared to this one.
Interesting. I wonder if that's a function of your brain getting adjusted or just that you've got a clearer picture.
I mean, there's yes. Well, what am I trying to say? I think in this eye there's been a gradual yellowing of the lens. And my brain has automatically corrected that.
Right.
But now I've got a lens. Now in this eye I've got a lens that isn't yellowed. So now all of a sudden I get to see what it really looks like here versus what it looks like there, and there you go.
Right. Hey, were you watching any of the pre-flight broadcast chatter on NASA TV?
I was. I've been watching it for the last hour and a half.
The thing that I thought was so cool was the fact that they're using Snoopy as a grav testing thing. I think that's so cool. I purposely have my Snoopy mug in honor of that tonight.
Oh, that's right. I was going to bring some tea up here and have tea tonight since I'm.
Oh, no tea! What are you doing?
What am I doing?
Oh my! Oh, looks like they're showing the crowd. Yeah, let's see here. Come on, mouse. This thing is the bane of my existence.
I'm telling you, a mouse with a cord is the way to go. You never have to worry about batteries.
I know. Yeah. I guess those are the grandstands. There are people actually out there tonight, sitting, waiting for the launch. That's what it looks like to me. And that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. So I think that was sort of a by invitation. I noticed that there was interviews with some kids and stuff that were saying they were lucky
my invite must have gotten lost in the mail.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah, well, they had no idea.
I'm sure it's just an oversight on there.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. They didn't know how important it was to us.
Right.
Yeah. You and I sweated through every one of these launches that got canceled.
Yeah, I did. At least that first one, because I think the other couple got were on while I was at work, so
Mm.
I couldn't. I
Well,
couldn't
there
do
was that
those.
first one that I was all ready to do a show and
So
everything.
yeah,
Yeah, and then it didn't happen, but that's all right.
yeah. Well, the
Safety
thing
first.
I think, yeah, safety first, and let's remember this: we are kind of pushing the limits of technology here. So
Right.
you know,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is I I don't really fully understand why this is new tech since we oh my goodness, look who we have here.
Hello.
hey, Leo.
Leo has joined us for this all exciting moment in time. Um, uh, how you doing, Leo?
Okay, I guess. Little tired.
Yeah,
It's a
it is
little,
the wee small hours.
which is ironic because I, do not usually go to bed before 3 o'clock in the morning because
Right, right.
uh, I've
That's
made
why I figured this would be
with all
a no brainer for us all.
all my excellent life choices have brought me to this place. Um, so so we have when is the no? It's going to launch a little after 1. Is that
yeah, well, they're still sticking to the 104 launch window opening.
right?
And I was just saying to Keith here is the they're oh now I don't know what we're looking at. Over here is the crowd, but I don't know what this is. So well,
That could be anything.
it could be. It could be. We had a better shot of the crowd before, but no, it's not there.
It is the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, just think, Leo, you could be sitting in a grandstand in Florida somewhere instead of in the comfort of your own home.
that's true. I would, and then it's the whole getting home. It's a whole big. So what else? What
The Russians have attacked. I lost my feed. I don't know what's going on now.
I've got the feed here.
Do you still have it? Because mine's blank. Oh, there it is. Now it's back.
Looks like we're in a hold. I'm not listening to it at the moment. Looks like
No.
we're in a hold at T minus 10 minutes.
Yep. Somebody's messing with the camera. There we go. Anyway, so so here we all are. And I'm really, it's really interesting because they were talking about this earlier. I watched a lot of the pregame stuff. They really are, oh, I see. They're moving over to the rocket. I got it. But they really are looking at this being a whole new generation of inspiration for space flight. And I think that's really cool. They had a little bit where they had a whole bunch of school kids. I don't know where they all came from, and they all got to come and on a bus and see the rocket up close, and it was very cool.
I think if we were all like in our sort of early tweens and so on, or early teens, I'm sure we'd all be very excited to witness. I've never been at a launch live.
Now, the closest I was at a launch was at Disney World, and from our hotel, you could actually see the space shuttle go up.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. There's the rocket sitting there ready to go. I will say one thing that's very cool, because we grew up with the Apollo missions, but
Sure.
then you go back and look at them now, and they're all fuzzy and grainy and what have you. And this is like so crystal clear and so sharp. They had close-up shots of the rocket, and it's like you just reach out and touch it. So it's very cool.
Well, it is. I mean, also the idea that they could do an unmanned orbit of the moon is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, as a test run.
Right.
It's listen. I mean, part of me, like, I always, I was a big, fan of the space program,
Right.
and it's sort of until it hasn't disappeared. I mean, there's an International Space Station, and people go up, and we have the SpaceX, which is, I mean, part of me thinks like, oh, that stuff is cool, but I also feel like they're billionaires. I'm like, is this really the best use of your money? It just always feels like.
Well, except SpaceX is really being used to ferry astronauts to the space station.
There, I mean, that's a legit thing, but it also
Right.
feels like all these, like, there's, is Bezos and Musk are like in a weird, sort of peeing contest between the two of them.
Who's the one that has the rocket that looks like a penis?
That's Bezos.
That's Bezos, right?
I mean, to be fair, all rockets kind of look like penises. So
on the bad Ethernet switch is complete. They are ready for open loop tests. This tests the range ability to send a destruct signal to the rocket in the case it were to go off course. And,
did he just say they're going to send a test destruct signal that late?
Test that needs to be completed. Again, the range finishing the work on the replacement of their Ethernet switch that was rendered their radar acquisition and sending of the flight termination signal to the SLS rocket repaired. And so now they need to run an open loop test to confirm that they have good signal going into the rocket in case they need to send a flight termination signal.
There you go. Did you guys?
For the upper stage of the rocket, we are.
Oh, wait.
Well, let's talk about the whole rocket. Core stage and upper stage. We have the core stage in stable replenish, both hydrogen and oxygen. And in the upper stage, we're stable on the liquid oxygen side. We briefly paused fast fill on the upper stage, which is currently at 80% filled, in order to do a test of the vent valve on that liquid hydrogen tank. Fast fill has resumed. And currently we are in topping on the upper stage of liquid hydrogen. So that is just in. We are into topping on the upper stage of the liquid hydrogen tank. And we are awaiting the range testing their flight termination system with the launch team. This is Artemis Launch Control.
Did you guys catch all that?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. They're
Yeah, that's interesting because they were talking earlier about this radar situation, and I didn't realize that it was a system designed to be able to tell the rocket to blow up. Yeah. So I guess there are self-destruct systems. It's not just in Star Trek.
It is. It's. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. I think I know Chris did, and
we are currently in a -10 hold. This is a pre-planned hold that has 11 minutes left. The pre-planned hold goes for a half hour. The T0 is set for 1:04 a.m. Eastern time. But currently the launch team is working to catch up to what appears to be a slip into the launch window, which is currently 2 hours and goes until 3:04 a.m. Eastern time.
I'm not sure we'll all be here.
Yeah, I don't know that I'll be here till 3 a.m. either.
To determine how much work is left.
Should have gotten
but again, it's
more dynamic to
based on the math and where we are, it looks like we are slipping into the window.
Uh-oh.
But again, that's not official. We don't have a new T0 as of right now. This is Artemis Launch Control.
All right. Thank you, Artemis Launch Control.
slipping into the
Anyway. Yeah, as I was saying, I guess it's not just Star Trek that has self-destruct mechanisms.
No. Well, it's funny because we were talking about. I know Chris watched this. I think Keith did too. Was Lost in Space,
Right.
It was in the last season. I think it was either the last season or the second last season.
Mhm.
So somebody's like, "Well, do we have a self-destruct thing, protocol?" And they're like, "No. Why would we have that?" Um, and we're a colony ship. We're not like, we're not a warship, and
Right.
we're a war, like a wartime base.
Right.
I'm not sure. It sort of begs the question: does let's say a nuclear sub or like a high-tech bomber have a self-destruct?
Yeah, I don't know.
Whether it's more the province of science fiction. I suppose for a rocket, it's a good idea. Like if it goes off course and it's heading towards a populated area, you might want to, or even even if it's just like a national forest or
Right.
wilderness, you might not want to the fireball from a fully fueled rocket would be considerable, to be sure. So
Yeah.
So
A giant ball of liquid hydrogen.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can speak to the ship thing a little bit.
Okay.
At least during World War II, I have no idea about modern stuff, and I have no idea about submarines. There were valves on warships called seacocks, and the purpose, I don't know if this is what the purpose for them was, but if you needed to scuttle the ship so that it wouldn't be captured by enemy hands, you would open the seacocks. And that would flood the ship to a point that it would sink.
Gotcha. Okay, interesting.
Was this on both sides, about the Allies and the Axis powers?
Yes. In fact, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure at least German U-boats had seacocks on them.
Well,
because
did you ever see? There's a
Go ahead.
movie called Enigma, which is based on it's more of a fictional retelling. It's about a team trying to recover the Enigma key,
Right?
The Nazis' super secret code machine, and it was on a U-boat, and both German commandos and a team of Allied people were trying to recover it. I only saw it once. The details are a little fuzzy for me, but.
So yeah, it was not uncommon for German U-boats. I mean, if they could pull it off, they wouldn't always be able to pull it off. But if they could, they know they were sunk. They know that they had lost. They would surface, abandon ship,
right?
And on their way off the boat, they would open the seacocks, and the submarine would sink. And
right.
The Enigma thing was the guys wanted to basically board the U-boat.
Right.
And close the seacocks before the damn thing sank.
Well, I guess they did because they got
they did.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I think.
Hey, guys, just a quick second. I want to thank Tony McIntosh for watching this evening and giving us a thumbs up. Thank you very much.
Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Thank you, Tony.
And hopefully he's still here. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just noticed it pop up, so I wanted to acknowledge.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think the actual historical events of them recovering the Enigma machine were not quite as exciting as they were made out to be in the movie, as is often the case.
Right.
Hey, what's this thing? I don't know. It looks like a typewriter. Well, maybe you better take that.
I could use one.
Yeah, we could use that. I don't think we got. I don't know if we replaced that last typewriter that got broken.
Yeah.
Takes forever to get it from Army surplus.
Yeah.
Especially since we're in the Navy.
Yeah.
Oh, damn! Everything's written in German and it's all mixed up. You can figure it out.
That's right.
Anyway, let's see here. Another cool shot of the rocket on the top.
Yes, yeah, it's
very dramatic. Yeah.
Seeing that. The one that I like is the one at the bottom. They've been showing that today. They showed it earlier with all the different engines on the bottom. It's pretty cool. I haven't seen that one in a while. But anyway, I don't know.
Now, here's a question: is assuming there's a capsule, sort of
Yes.
system, will they be measuring like oxygen consumption and oxygen use? Not oxygen, but like air.
Very interesting. Very interesting. You say that there are 3 dummies, if you will, of
Right.
two that are torsos. One is, I think, a man, and one is a woman. And then there is a full body mannequin, and his name is, oh, I forget, something cute. And he's actually named after the guy who brought home Apollo 13. But at any rate, he's in a full suit.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, right, Tom Hanks, exactly. He's in a full
Suit.
orange astronaut suit, and he's being measured as though he were, and he's in the command seat.
Right.
He's being measured as though, for G forces and all these other things, as though he were a human being. He's the weight of a human being, and so on and so forth. The other 2 are just torsos, and they're designed to assess radiation and some of the other environmental issues and impacts that would happen to an astronaut.
As I understand, there was this company or somebody designed an anti-radiation suit. So one of the dummies has the anti-radiation suit on it.
Okay.
And the other does not.
Gotcha.
And then there's monitors on both of them and see if that anti-radiation suit.
Well, if I understood what they said at one point, so the amount of radiation that you experience in space, that same amount of radiation we all receive over a year being on the planet, and in space you get it in a day.
Yes.
So that's why they're designing these suits, in order to, protect people. But I think the new suit is very cool. I love the orange. It's very 2001 Space Odyssey to me. The idea that it's orange, very Major Matt Mason. I think that's
super
cool.
stylish. Super
It
stylish.
is. And I was saying to Keith before you came on, Leo, Snoopy is the anti-grav test item. They made a special Snoopy, and he's in an exact replica, made out of the same materials as the spacesuits. And they're going to take him up, and when he starts to float around, they know that they've hit 0G.
Well, there's a long-standing sort of
connection between Snoopy and the space program. Yeah.
I've forgotten which one of the Apollo missions, but one was one of the modules was Snoopy and the other one was Charlie Brown, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're right. Did you have that Snoopy in the spacesuit?
I did.
Yeah.
It's somewhere.
I always wanted that. I never got it. I always wanted him.
I did. I know I had it, and I still have it somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where, but yeah.
Yeah.
It is remarkable that this is happening. I know it's been put off a couple of times because of weather and so on, and a few technical snafus.
Right.
But
but it's really cool. I mean, I really didn't expect it, and then about I don't know, a year or two ago, I'm kind of mad because about a year ago, I bought Artemis polo shirts for myself, my wife, and my oldest daughter.
Okay.
Because she was studying the space program in school.
Okay.
And we thought that was kind of cool. And I have no idea where they are. Now that they're launching, I don't know where they are. But yeah. Yeah. I think it's really neat. I was very surprised when I found out that they were doing it. Then I was like, wow, that's really cool. Because I didn't expect to see us go back to the moon in my lifetime.
Well, I mean, the moon is our closest neighbor.
Right.
And it is, well, it's not really it's certainly not suited for human life, but it is at least more stable generally than, and it's not as far away as Mars.
Right.
Elon Musk wants to go to Mars, and I say, have at it.
Well, but that's sort of the point of this mission, because that business they talk about in For All Mankind about there being water on the moon and all that stuff,
right?
That's true.
No, I understand, but it's
Yeah.
still
And they can make the moon technically a refueling station.
sure.
It's like a gas station on the way to wherever you want to go.
God, there was-
So yeah, because you can take that water and turn it. I don't know how, but you can turn it into, well, I guess because of hydrogen and oxygen, you can
Yeah.
turn it into liquid hydrogen, and then you can use it as rocket fuel.
there was a movie came out pre-pandemic about astronauts, and I've forgotten the actor's name now. The guy who was in Drive,
Right.
Ryan
Sequel.
Gosling.
Yeah. Right.
And he's an astronaut, and his father sort of was lost in space. But the
Okay.
thing is, when every time they had to part of the prep was to make sure that they were like emotionally detached, so they wouldn't get, I guess, panic.
Right.
And he's trying to find his dad, who was lost in this mission, sort of. I want to say near Saturn or Jupiter, or somewhere like, or the outer within our solar system, but like
Right.
And of course, he's not entirely emotionally, coping with this. So he had
Right.
to sort of fake his way through. But he goes to the moon and gets to the moon to go to Mars and then go further out.
Mhm.
So it's I mean, as our friend Craig had mentioned, it's a lot of it is if the problem is of both the efficiency of both engines and fuel.
Right.
Is one of the biggest barriers, because there's only so much you can possibly carry.
Right. Yeah.
And
Well, and getting there is one thing, but then you've got to get back.
you want to get back. Well, yeah, that's the idea. But also, in real space flight, as opposed to like what we see in Star Trek. I love Star Trek, but it might as well be magic. Is like if you're hurtling towards your destination, halfway there you have to turn around and start slowing down.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll impact the planet at a very high speed.
Right.
So, and it's also, I mean, as we think about, because we think, well, Mars is is the next planet out for us,
Right.
but it's orbiting at its own rate,
Right.
and it's not always close to us.
Right.
And the solar system is always moving, as
Right.
is the galaxy, and then everything is always moving in space. And the idea of navigating in space for somebody who is as math challenged as I am seems impossible.
Well, somebody around my kitchen table was asking why they have these different launch windows, and part of that is true for the moon too. The moon has to be in the right position for us to be able to effectively get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm talking like I'm a great authority on this.
It's remarkable. It's,
Yes. I had to switch feeds because the other one stopped broadcasting for some reason. I wonder if they did that on purpose. But this is now we're on the live NASA thing. I guess I don't know. Does this mean that there's 9 minutes and 33 seconds? Is that what that, or 30? I don't know what that 9.
Well, it's not moving. That number.
No, it's not moving.
So
yeah,
maybe it's paused at that. If that there should be like a colon in between the 9 and.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I don't know what that is, but
your dramatic lighting, by the way.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing: it's back to being Cape Canaveral, and for a while it was Cape Kennedy,
right?
And then they changed back to Cape Canaveral.
Yeah.
You guys have any thoughts on that? I feel like most newscasters now we're just trying to fill time.
Yeah, we're filling air. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't really know what the thought is about that. Like why they made it Kennedy and then they took that away.
Well, I think they did it after Kennedy was killed, and they did it, because he was instrumental in, getting the space,
right?
The Apollo program going,
right?
Because we do this thing and that thing, not because it is easy, but because it is hard.
Because it is hard.
Like
me, Maryland.
I have no idea if this is going to work. If how this is going to appear on StreamYards, and it was a lot of work actually to make it happen. But I think I have got a. I think I'm attempting to show you an image of Artemis Snoopy.
Oh, you have it. Here, I'll get out of this. Hang on. Are you sharing a screen? Is that what you're doing?
There's a button here called Present.
Right.
Click Artemis Snoopy, and I just clicked on it, so I have no idea how that appears on your end. Oh, wait a minute, what's this over here?
Yeah, I don't.
It looks like it's in the green room.
Oh, I can see him. Yeah, sure. I'll bring him in. Artemis Snoopy. There he is.
It's a very cool helmet.
Oh yeah, yeah. And they were saying that this spacesuit really is made out of the exact same materials the astronauts are wearing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. I wonder how soon before you're going to be able to order this on Amazon.
Probably.
He does come in that case, though. They were showing them bringing him to the rocket in that case. And much like Woody getting ready to go to Japan, there's nice custom foam insulation in there. Yeah.
But think about that for a second. You've got custom foam to protect a plushie.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure that that's what we're doing here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is a real helmet. This seriously, this helmet is a replica of the actual helmet, I believe. That's what it looked like. They said that even the collar where the helmet fits into, they were saying is like the collar that is on the actual spacesuit. There was a whole team of people that did this.
Yes.
No, I'm serious. They had a whole bit about it.
Scholars at work.
Yeah. Yeah. But thank you, Keith. That's great. That's awesome to have that. Yeah. 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 They're filling time on the public space too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's somebody here's an astronaut stepping on the moon, kicking up the dust. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have the sound on for this. I guess I could, but it's more interesting.
How long is the mission supposed to take?
It's a very good question, Leo. I don't do you remember, Keith, what they said, how long it's going to take to get there?
I don't, but I do have access to the internet here.
Yep.
So let's see what Google.
Why don't you go look at that? Well, I go have a quick bio break. I'll be right back.
How long does Artemis 1? Let's go with how long is Artemis 1 mission? Let's see here. Let's see. With 6 of those days, so let me see. The mission will lift off from the launch complex 39B at Kennedy Space Center. The Orion spacecraft will be launched on a mission of between 26 and 42 days.
Okay.
And when this article, it probably depends on where the moon is at the time that the thing is launched, on whether
that's a big deal. That's like, well, it could go this long or twice as long as that.
Right. With at least 6 of those days in a distant retrograde orbit around the moon. So it's going to get to the moon, orbit for 6 days, and then come back.
And do they, and if this works out, the idea that this is the test and everything, everything seems safe. Have they said when the first manned mission will go up?
I don't know if they have. They're probably going to have to look at data from this thing first.
Sure.
And then make that decision. But I think they've already got the crew picked, though, for what I'm guessing is going to be Artemis 2.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is. Hey, Chris, do you know if the next, assuming everything goes hunky dory with Artemis 1
Yes.
here, is Artemis 2 going to be crewed?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
I think that's what I heard. But I
Okay.
don't know whether they've actually picked the crewer yet or not. I heard you guys talking about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I actually they may have, because I think that they know that it's going to include the first woman and the first person of color
Yes.
on the moon. So I think they probably maybe that they do know, I would think they would have to know, I guess, if they can say that accurately. They're not just going to randomly grab, well, we need a woman and a person of color. Get Fred. I mean,
I don't know if anybody watched Space Force, which was on Netflix, which was fun. It wasn't.
I watched the first season. I didn't see the
It
second.
wasn't perfect, but
Mhm.
it had moments.
Yeah.
And I liked everybody on there. But there's Sandy Newton. I'm singing around. The actress who does the voice for Mariner was one of the leads on the show.
Right.
Cool.
And she goes. She's part of this manned moon mission, and her words were supposed to be when she first steps on it. It's good to be back on the moon, but what she actually says is it's good to be black on the moon.
See,
Which sort of starts trending, but she it doesn't, well, I mean, I don't want to ruin it for people. I think it's still on Netflix. I think it's worth checking out.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of funny people in there. Sadly, it only got 2 seasons, but I would say, I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's not, it wasn't perfect, but there were a lot of fun moments in it.
Right.
So.
Right. Now I've switched back the media feed is back on, which is the one we were watching before and had the guy that you thought had a lot of personality talking. Because the public channel, I'm going to flip this here. All right, let's see. There are 2 feeds off of the NASA website.
yeah, I think I'm looking at the public feed.
Well, yeah, because the so this is the media feed, which I guess is designed for the media and just is basically that, and then the public feed has the extra yakking and the interview.
Right.
Have they said anything about when? Because we're after 1. It's 1:08. So do they know when they might be launching? Is that
again? Just keep those questions coming. We are entering into this launch window, and we do have time. So we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to try at least to answer most of your questions. So you've been hearing throughout the broadcast all the different science that returning to the moon will enable us to do. So there's actually something called the Prime 1 mining experiment, and that's going to robotically look for ice and other resources below the lunar surface.
Yeah, that's the public feed.
NASA's first polar resources ice mining experiment, also known as Prime 1, will robotically look for ice and other resources below the lunar surface. Thanks to data from spacecraft orbiting the moon, scientists believe that the polar regions contain water ice in the form of ice just below the surface. With the right technologies, that ice is a game-changing resource that can be mined and used to produce propellant and breathable oxygen for future explorers. Under NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services Initiative, the agency selected intuitive machines to fly and land Prime 1 on the moon's south pole. Prime 1 will land near the Shackleton crater to drill into the lunar soil in an area that could contain water ice.
Shackleton.
Prime 1 is made up of 2 instruments, Trident, the regolith and ice drill for exploring new terrain, and M-SOLO, the mass spectrometer observing lunar operations. Trident will drill up to 3 feet into the lunar surface, extract lunar soil, and bring it up to the surface. Trident drills to its maximum depth in multiple phases, stopping at different increments. As it reaches each desired depth, it will pause and retract the drill string to deposit lunar soil on the surface for analysis. This is where M-Solo comes in. M-Solo is a commercial off-the-shelf mass spectrometer modified for spaceflight. It will evaluate the chemical elements and compounds released from the lunar soil for water and other chemical compounds. Trident will then proceed to the next specified depth and repeat the process until samples at all desired depths have been analyzed for water. If no ice is found where Prime 1 lands, NASA will still collect valuable information about drilling into the lunar soil for a future mission. NASA's Viper, the Volatiles Investigating Polar Exploration rover, will use Prime 1 technology on a mobile robot that will navigate the moon's south pole, searching for additional resources. Prime 1 data will help NASA assess lunar resources to inform future Artemis missions and a robust human presence on the moon.
Well, there you go.
We are still awaiting a new T0 for today's launch attempt, but for more on what to expect when we launch for this first day, let's go to NASA's Dan Hewitt. He's inside our Apollo Saturn V Center at the KSC Visitor Complex.
Hey, thanks, Megan. Everybody, welcome back to the moon board. There's a lot of people here in the complex. I just heard a woo-hoo. People are
The
getting
moon board.
because we have a great view of launch when it's going to happen, and it's going to happen.
I want a moon board.
That
Yeah.
launch is just the first step in the Artemis 1 mission. So let's look at what's ahead for this historic.
Oh, this is
first
good.
flight.
He
As
explains
we
this
just
well.
said, launch is step number 1. Those 4 RS-25 engines throttle up, followed shortly after by the 2 solid rocket boosters igniting, sending SLS and Orion skyward. Now, on our way uphill, we'll have a number of jettison events. You'll be able to see things coming off of the SLS rocket. One of the most visual ones will be these 2 solid rocket boosters. Now, they'll expend their propellant a little over 2 minutes into the flight. They will separate. We'll see them flare off onto either side, and then the core stage continues to fire. We're also going to see the launch abort system come off the top. Once you get high enough in the atmosphere, it's no longer required. You could actually do aborts using engines on Orion and its service module. I will also note that on the launch abort system, it's got those 3 solid rocket motors. The jettison motor is active. The abort and the attitude ones are not for this flight. We don't have people, so we're not flying a fully active abort system. We also have 3 fairings that are there to protect Orion, the service module and the crew module, as we're flying up through the really dense parts of the Earth's atmosphere. Next up, we'll hit core stage separation. So we've got 4 main engines. We'll hear MECO, main engine cutoff. Those engines will shut down. The core stage will separate, drop away. It's eventually going to splash down in the ocean. And that hands over the propulsion duties to this, our upper stage, the Interim Cryogenic Propulsion Stage, or ICPS. Its first job is to execute what's known as a perigee raise maneuver. So the perigee is the lowest part of your orbit. You have a perigee, that's your low part, and an apogee, that's your highest point. We're going to raise up the perigee, and that's going to actually put us in a nice circular path around the planet. And while we're there, that gives us time to check out Orion. We're flying it in space for the second time, the first time in this fully integrated stack with SLS. We'll be able to look at all of Orion's systems, make sure those solar arrays are capturing the sun's energy and turning it into electrical power for Orion systems, make sure the communications are working, all of our guidance, navigation, and control. That is your time to make sure you have a healthy spacecraft before you do something that is going to send it to the moon. And that's next up on our list. That's the translunar injection. For today's launch profile, that's going to be a firing of about 18 minutes of that single engine on the upper stage. Now, that engine is optimized for a vacuum. It's producing about 24,000 pounds of thrust. So it's a pretty big engine, and it's doing that because we need enough energy to be able to send our payload, Orion, beyond low Earth orbit and send it on a path to head out to the moon.
I wonder
Now,
what kind
after
of
that burn is
G's they're going to be
complete,
experiencing for those 20
separate.
minutes.
It's going to do what's called a disposal burn. So it's going to send itself on a path from Earth around the moon and slingshot out into what's known as a heliocentric orbit. So it's going to completely leave the Earth-Moon system and go into orbit around our sun. But after it separates, propulsion duties get handed over to this, the European Service Module. And it's got a couple of different engines that it's going to be using. And we're going to be testing those out just on day 1. We're going to do what's called the Outbound Trajectory Correction Burn 1. And we'll do a couple of these trajectory corrections as we're flying out to the moon. But that first one is that first critical test of this large engine, the Orbital Maneuvering System engine. That's the one that has the most thrust, generating about 6,000 pounds of force in a vacuum. And that's what's going to be doing a lot of our maneuvers, or giving us that pushing power as we do these maneuvers around the moon to enter into what's known as Distant Retrograde Orbit, or DRO. And that's this dotted line that you see around here. Now, we call it distant basically because of the distance we're away from the moon. We're about 40,000 miles, a little bit less, off the lunar surface. And then we call it retrograde because the moon orbiting planet Earth in this direction, going in a counterclockwise fashion, we're going to be entering into a clockwise orbit around the moon, opposite retrograde. Now, to do that, we're going to get in close. We're going to dip in off the lunar surface. We're going to be about 80 statute miles off the lunar surface as we do this outbound powered flyby. Again, the major thrust coming from that Orbital Maneuvering System engine. After we do that, we'll do a final maneuver to actually go into that distant retrograde orbit, that DRO. Now, why DRO? Why are we not just going around the moon and coming back on like a free return trajectory, which we did on some of the Apollo missions? Well, in DRO, it's a very stable orbit. It doesn't require a lot of fuel to maintain that area around the moon. So it gives you a lot of time to really test the spacecraft. If you followed with any launch of a new spacecraft, you know there's only so much testing you can do on the ground. Once you actually put all of that hardware in space, in the environment that it's going to be operating, hundreds of thousands of miles away from Earth, you're going to learn things you didn't even realize about everything from communications, the life support systems, the thermal control. Everything on a spacecraft needs to get put through its paces in this environment before we put people on board. And that's why we're heading out to DRO. Eventually, though, it's going to be time to come home, and we will do a DRO departure maneuver. This, again, firing up that Orbital Maneuvering System engine and others on the service module. And this is what's going to commit us from leaving the moon and heading on back towards Earth. We'll dip in once more, close off the lunar surface, slingshot and use the lunar gravity to do this return-powered flyby. And then, similar to the way out, we can make correction burns as we kind of fine-tune our path back towards the Earth. And then it's time for re-entry. A couple of things happen before that. One of the really critical ones, spacecraft separation. We're going to detach the European service module shortly before re-entry. Its job largely done. That burns up in the Earth's atmosphere and reveals on the crew module the heat shield. I circled it earlier. This is goal number 1 of the Artemis mission. Artemis 1 mission is testing this heat shield at lunar return velocities, because when we make that trip around the moon and we come back, we are going in speeds of excess of 20,000 miles an hour. So when we slam into the Earth's atmosphere,
Incredible.
It's going to heat that thing up to more than 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. For the Artemis 1 profile, we're going to do what's known as a skip re-entry. So basically, you can come in too shallow and skip off the atmosphere, too narrow, and you're going to do what's known as a ballistic entry, which really heats things up. We're going to do kind of a mix where we're going to skip once off the atmosphere, and that we're still going to get the heat, but that helps to reduce some of the G loads on the crew. Once you're through that, you get to parachute deploy. There's 11 parachutes in total that are going to slow Orion down before it splashes down. We're going to be going from 20,000 miles an hour to about 300 miles an hour before those parachutes deploy. And then they do a final job of getting it in the water in the South Pacific. We've got these big orange balloons. That's an uprighting system. So even if Orion landed in the water upside down, those can inflate, and they put us back upright into what's known as stable 1. That's where you want your spacecraft to be, nice and upright in the water, especially if you're an astronaut in there floating. We also have a large U.S. Navy ship with a big bay that's going to basically come up and swallow Orion into its deck. And you've got a couple of other assets in the area to help recover hardware, the forward bay cover, parachutes, things like that. But that's scheduled to happen 26 days after a launch today. So that's 26 days from liftoff here in Florida around the moon to a splashdown in the Pacific. And that will be the first mission in the Artemis program, the farthest we've ever sent a human-rated spacecraft in history. and just the first step before we put people on board. So that's a look at everything still to come. We're counting down to that launch. I'll send it back over to Megan and the team at the host desk, guys.
So there you go. That sort of explains it. The actual mission.
Very comprehensive
wait a
look
minute,
at
hang
that.
on.
Thank you so much, Dan.
There we go. Just wanted to mute them for a little bit. So yeah, so that explains it.
So, but he said it's the farthest we've ever sent a human-rated spacecraft.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
I don't know, because it's like
because they're going around the. Well, I know that the an Apollo did orbit the dark side of the moon.
Right.
So
yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I don't understand that, because I presume the Apollo spacecraft were human-rated.
Right.
So
yeah, I don't know.
What's going on, Brainiac?
Yeah, unless all those people that say we never went to the moon were telling the truth.
that's. Oh, they let it slip.
Yeah.
They let it slip. We never went to the moon after all.
Yeah.
It was all a soundstage in Hollywood.
Right. All right, I'm going to go over to the media feed here and just see if that. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. I'll leave that mic open just in case they give us an update on the. On the launch window. So anyway. It is 1:22 in the morning.
It is.
Yeah. So I don't know. I know we have a 2-hour launch window, so hopefully we'll get to go. But it may be after I'm tucked in bed.
Yes.
Oh my. But if it is after I'm tucked in bed, we'll be sure to see if we can grab some footage of the launch at another time, and
sure,
maybe we'll show it next Thursday when we do our show. Did you notice I put up the rest up into the 2-parter
yes,
season finale? I put up all the episodes. They're all posted, but I didn't put up the season finale because it's a 2-parter, and I didn't know whether we wanted to do them together.
I don't know. That's it.
So we'll figure that out.
We'll discuss that as
we get to it. Yeah,
yes.
as we get to it. But and I did realize that one of the nights is December 8th, and you and I may need to talk because December 8th is Carol's birthday.
Ah,
and I know that I may be in Connecticut somewhere around that time, so we might have to pre-record that one as well.
That's okay. I don't mind.
Yeah, exactly. I actually listed it as a pre-recorded episode, anticipating that.
It might be. Well, I mean, we would have to do, if you want to do it earlier in the day.
Right. Right. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out where. I don't know exactly where I'm going to be because there is a whole launch of the Christmas season, which we haven't done in a couple of years, that goes on up in our little town in Salisbury, Connecticut. And it's a really sweet and cute and very New England, where there's singing outside the inn and the brass band and hot chocolate and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a auction called the Festival of Trees that supports a lovely nursing home up there, and it's a lot of fun. And we haven't been able to do that since the pandemic, so we may be up there for that. So who knows? We'll see. I'm not seeing any kind of a new countdown here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the hold is here.
I don't know. I'm sort of
to take the next step.
okay. See, this stuff is all just promotional stuff. So I don't
Well,
know.
they don't really. The problem is with any news event, they have to wait for something to happen.
Yeah,
And then,
usually they have the ticker up here. So I don't know what.
The only thing. So speaking, with so just speculating based on what we've heard before, the top liquid hydrogen tank was not 100% full. It was at 80% full.
Right.
And I think maybe they got to get that thing filled up before they can start the clock again. I'm guessing.
Yeah. See, earlier attempts, they've shown you all that in a really neat graphic, and I'm not sure why they're not showing that tonight because they have a
They did show that graphic during the pre-show that I was watching.
Right, they did. Yeah, they did.
But maybe that's not the issue, and that's why they're not showing us because the tank is full. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I have the sound up, so if the guy jumps in, I'm sure we'll hear about it. Looks like it might be sleepy time over there in Manhattan.
It's a little sleepy.
Yeah.
What you talking about? It's only 10:26.
Keith has the benefit of being on the West Coast, and I have the benefit of lots of coffee.
Yes.
So, yeah, I had my extra big Snoopy mug in honor of Snoopy and the mission. It's a little cold now, and I don't have my wife here to run and heat it up for me.
Yeah, I wish I had gotten my tea set up going because I forgot about it. I was downstairs watching the pre-show, and then it came time for this thing to start, and I came up here and went, "Crap! I was gonna have some tea for this." But
yeah, you had the pre-show on while you were doing something. What were you doing, dishes or something? Or
I had the pre-show on while I was doing dishes,
right.
and then I got done doing dishes. I just sat down in the chair, put YouTube on the TV, and watched the pre-show on YouTube.
Yeah,
and then Saber decided that my lap was a great spot to sit. So,
where is Saber tonight? I don't see Saber.
He's probably sitting on my chair downstairs that I was in. Because excuse me, he's probably sitting in his chair that he kindly allowed me to use earlier today.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the chair that he loaned you.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I have seen an awful lot of this top part of the rocket.
Yeah, I think we all have.
Leo.
So it is interesting. Where are you getting your feed from?
I'm getting my feed from NASA.gov.
Okay.
I will be right back. I'm going to get a beverage.
All right, very good.
We'll be here for a little bit.
All right, very good.
Because YouTube's got a feed as well, and they're showing something different than you are. Let me see something.
Well,
now.
I do have a bunch of people clapping in Germany on YouTube.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what they're showing.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people applauding in German. Oh, and now she's back. All right, let me see something because up. This might be important. Hang on.
Thank you so much, guys, for your contribution to the program, and can't wait to see Orion and SLS launch. Okay, so now let's head back over to Daryl Nail over with the launch team so we can hear any updates about a new T0.
Yeah, Megan, thank you. And a clearer picture is starting to emerge as the launch team now reports out that they only have a few minutes left of work to do before they're ready to pick up polling. And we're also hearing that some of that polling, which kicks off with the mission management team, is also now just about 3.5 minutes away. Now, we are currently still in that hold, but the launch team, NASA's test director, is continuing to move the team forward. We've wrapped up work on the upper stage and the lower stage. You're looking now live inside firing room 1, where launch director Charlie Blackwell Thompson is overseeing her launch team. We've had a number of delays that have put us off the T0, but we are starting to track to a T0 close to around a quarter till, top of the hour. But we do need to have some polling that takes place. I'm pausing now because I'm listening in to the teams as they communicate. In this launch window, which we're currently 26 minutes into, and it's 2 hours long, it runs until 3:04 a.m. Eastern time. We have what's called 40 cutouts. And in those cutouts, they range from about a second to about a minute. These are times where they can't launch. These cutouts must be accounted for when determining a new T0.
That's interesting. I wonder what.
I wonder why those are. Yeah.
Which was the last to get ready and configured. Just recently, the team cycled the liquid hydrogen valves, which is required. And they are currently working on the LO2 valves, liquid oxygen valves in the upper stage. That work is almost done.
All right. That's what buggered it up.
Right.
The first time they tried this. Right.
See, now that says 9:17. I don't know why that number changed.
We are now a minute and a half away from the poll of the mission management team, which is several minutes before T-minus 15 minutes. When that poll starts, we'll get a clearer picture of our T0.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
boy, it's so fun. It's so interesting to see how things have changed.
NASA's test director has informed the launch team to all switch to a common communication channel. It's called 230.
All right.
232.
Cool.
And what this means is
they're about to start polling.
The entire launch team is now on one channel, and all future communication will happen there. Whereas there are many channels. Now they reduce it down to one.
Doesn't this look like an Irwin Allen set?
A little.
Yeah, it does.
NASA test director Carlos Monge. I'm sorry, Jeff Spalding. Jeff Spalding's on. They swapped out. There are currently no constraints to launch.
Yes.
Great news. Again, no constraints to launch.
Excellent.
And they're getting ready to pick up with a poll to determine
I want to hear the poll.
Readiness for launch.
Yeah.
Is it about your least favorite Star Trek character?
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Tuvix didn't get any votes.
I was surprised about that too.
I guess people hate Neelix more than they hate
I can't believe Neelix was the big winner. I think that's hysterical.
Well, or loser, depending on your.
Well, yeah. I think he would have thought he won.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I feel bad because apparently that actor is a very nice person, but I just can't stand Neelix. You know, like we're killing a little time. Did you ever see? Do you remember the movie The Shadow with Alec Baldwin?
I do
He's like a
remember
young
that.
man.
Yes.
Test director Jeff Spalding getting ready to conduct the readiness poll. So we are getting close.
Good.
The actor who played Neelix.
I'll pull up the audio now
Oh, hang on. We'll get to Neelix in a minute.
Yes.
so that you can listen in.
LPs go. And Rock. Rockets go. All right, copy all. And Launch Director NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed at this time.
I copy all NTD. At this time, I will proceed with my poll. And attention on 232, this is the launch director performing the final poll for launch. Verified no constraints and go for launch. EGS Program Chief Engineer.
EGS Program Chief Engineer verifies that the EGS, SLS, and Orion Program Chief Engineers have no constraints and are go for launch.
Copy, Greg. Thank you. EGS Chief Safety Officer.
The EGS CSO verifies the SLS Orion and EGS CSOs have no constraints and are go for launch.
Copy, John. Thank you. Range Weather. Weather has no constraints and weather is go for launch. Copy, LWO. And Mission Manager.
Oh.
And Mission Manager, Launch Director.
Launch Director, Mission Manager on 232. The mission management team has been polled. You have a go to proceed with terminal count and launch of Artemis 1.
Yes. Okay. Good.
I copy all. Thank you.
Yes.
And NTD, Launch Director.
Go ahead, Launch Director.
Yes, sir. On behalf of all the men and women across our great nation who have worked to bring this hardware together to make this day possible, and for the Artemis generation, this is for you. At this time, I give you a go to resume count and launch Artemis 1.
Copy, Launch Director, and thank you. All right, we do have a couple of steps to configure, and then we will be ready to resume the clock. CVSE, NTD. CVSE here. Initiate recording of Orion cameras at this time. In work. R, NTD. RSR here. Perform the booster ignition SNA arm rotation enable.
NDT, RSR, booster ignition SNA arm and rotation enable is complete.
And I copy. Thank you.
Okay, so there you heard the poll from Launch Director.
Early.
That's so exciting.
Getting ready to get that new T0 time. The poll that you heard was the NASA test director's poll. And
all right, and we have verified no cutouts at this time. And all personnel, we are going to resume the clock. GLS, you can resume the clock on your mark.
GLS copies. Countdown clock will resume on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. GLS mainline has been initiated.
okay,
T-minus 10 minutes and counting.
All righty.
lift
So
off.
it's 48 after the hour.
You can see the clock is now moving. Let's put that up. T-minus 9 minutes and 47 seconds.
Wow.
The L-minus 15 poll
Type
complete.
show 06, 47, 44 is the mid lift off time.
Affirm.
All righty.
01:47:44, 1:47 a.m. Eastern Time and 44 seconds.
Nice.
We went straight into terminal count. Liftoff now 9 minutes away. So terminal count. Control has been given over to the GLS, the ground launch sequencer, a computer and software that is doing all of the commanding and monitoring of the Space Launch System.
Wait, is that Gary
We'll hear
7?
call outs from the GLS operator.
I see a cat. Saber?
Saber, what are you doing?
As well as NASA Test Director Jeff Spaulding. GLS is pre-tensioning the umbilicals at this very moment. You can see them as they run down the rocket. That's getting them ready to detach. At liftoff, those arms will swing away,
Cool.
let go of the rocket in a clockwise direction.
Welcome our new viewers, by the way. Thank you for tuning in with us to watch
T-minus
this.
8 minutes and counting.
All right, this is
The GLS
exciting. This is exciting.
performing up to 100 commands per second.
Wow.
Like a little kid
including
here.
Doing ground systems for power transfer to the rocket. GLS is turning on cameras, recording video inside and outside the crew module to collect data for engineers.
I'd like to see a shot of the inside quick then, if they got the cameras on.
Purging
Yeah,
the
right.
transferred booster with high flow nitrogen. Clear out any hydrogen gas that may be there.
I wonder if those dummies are getting nervous.
If they're dummies, they're probably very calm.
Yeah, that's true.
You can see the crew access arm is already retracted. When there is crew during Artemis 2, it would happen at T-minus 6 minutes.
There you go.
But out of abundance of caution, they went ahead and retracted the arm well ahead of liftoff.
So that explains it, Keith. There is...
I want to point your attention to the base of the mobile launcher. If something wasn't done to reduce the power from the pressure caused by the rocket's ignition and thunderous sound, it could damage the rocket. So the ignition overpressure and sound suppression system will flood the mobile launcher with water. You'll see that sequence start at T-minus 17 seconds.
Wow.
Now coming up in less than 30 seconds, the ground launch sequencer will start bringing the high energy systems online, starting with core stage pressurization.
See, you're not going to go to sleep, Leo. You're going to catch it.
Yes.
Fire room 1 is completely silent.
Yeah.
Listen for the next call.
GLS is go for core stage tank pressurization.
The core stage tank is now pressurizing to flight levels. The replenish valve to the liquid hydrogen tank now closing. The liquid oxygen tank will come a little later. Now we're arming the Orion Ascent pyros and transfer to internal power. The launch abort system, or LAS jettison motor, is now armed. On this flight, the abort motor is inactive because there is no crew on board. Up next is the flight termination system, or FTS, which gives the Space Force the ability to destruct the rocket if it goes in the wrong direction. Let's listen in for that.
Space Force.
Finally, they're doing something.
Yeah.
GLS is go for FTS.
5 minutes.
The flight termination system is now armed. Coming up at 4 minutes and 40 seconds, a big moment. This is where the RS-25 engines and their bleed go to high flow. It's been a little tricky to dial in.
GLS is go for LH2 high flow bleed check.
Good word, we've passed that. The cryo team got the LH2 engine bleed pressure loop dialed in. They are now at the right temperature for launch. Countdown continues. T-minus 4 minutes, 15 seconds.
It's remarkable
GLS
how
fires
much
up the KPUs. Those are high-speed turbines which provide pressure to hydraulic pumps that steer the RS-25s. Stands for Core Stage Auxiliary Power Unit Start.
God, I'm so
GLS
tense
is
right
go
now.
for core stage APU start.
That now leads to the thrust vector control test at T-minus 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That can proceed now, and we will see the engines gimbal at the bottom of the core stage.
I think what's sort of remarkable is we think it's, jumping into a spaceship and flying off into space.
Yeah.
But it is like the honeydew list of all
10
time
seconds, you will hear the go for purge sequence 4.
to get a spaceship ready to leave.
The 4 core stage engines downstream of the propellant valve, getting the air and moisture out.
GLS, go for purge sequence 4.
And in just a few seconds, GLS will close the core stage LOX vent, liquid oxygen. The white vapor cloud caused from the super cold gaseous oxygen condensing the water in the atmosphere will disappear. You see it coming out there now. And there it goes, it's closed. LOX vent closed, pressure rising in the core stage LOX tank to flight levels.
I love this shot.
In 15 seconds, look for that thrust vector control actuator test. Engines will gimbal.
Oh, wow. We're actually going to see that?
And there they go.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
The 4 core stage RS-25 engines gimbaling around, testing the ability to steer the rocket into space.
I've never seen that. Actually seen that before.
No, me either.
Each RS-25 throwing down 500,000 pounds of thrust. All 4, 2 million pounds. All together with the boosters, 8.8 million pounds of thrust.
Wow.
Go for upper stage to internal power.
Now the upper stage has gone to internal power. So power is removed from the rocket's upper stage, the ICPS, and it's been switched to battery power. The same milestone is coming up for the core stage at T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Oh my God, less than 2 minutes.
I know.
GLS, go for core stage to internal power.
The rocket's core stage, which houses the 3 flight computers, is now on battery power. So there is no more hold time available because there's no more margin on the batteries. So if we have a hold, we have to recycle back to T-minus 10 minutes and recharge those batteries. The count continues. A note now, shortly after liftoff.
1 minute.
Shortly after liftoff, Mission Control Houston will take control of the rocket, and my colleague, Leah Cheshire, will take over commentary. T-minus 50 seconds and counting.
Woo!
Coming up at T-minus 33 seconds, the GLS will hand off control to the ALS. This is the autonomous launch sequencer. On board the rocket, it will take over command and control of the rocket. But the ALS will check, make sure there's no holds coming from the ground up until T-minus 2
GLS,
seconds.
go for ALS.
And we are go for ALS. The Space Launch System is now counting down to liftoff of Orion on its maiden voyage to the moon. Launch team no longer cycle the count. Sound suppressor water now flowing
15.
under the ML. And here we go.
10.
Hydrogen burn-off igniters initiate. 7, 6, 5. Core stage engine start. 3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And
Whoa!
we rise together back to the moon and beyond.
Look at that.
Woohoo! Yes. All right. Keep going. Keep going.
Boosters now propelling the vehicle at 128 miles per hour.
Incredible. Just incredible.
Very good control on the roll from teams in Mission Control Houston. All good calls so far. Now 30 seconds into the flight of Artemis 1. First milestone will be for the vehicle to pass through max Q at about 1 minute and 9 seconds into launch. This is the greatest period of atmospheric force on the rocket. SLS now traveling 607 miles per hour. You're looking at 8.8 million pounds of maximum thrust quiet here in the loops of Mission Control. Full core stage engines throttling down ahead of passing through max Q.
Just amazing.
It is.
So
I mean,
exciting.
Minute 21 seconds into the flight, traveling at 1,420 miles per hour.
Wow.
The 4 core stage engines are back at maximum thrust. The next major milestone will be for the solid rocket boosters to cut off and jettison at about 2 minutes and 11 seconds into the flight, so about 30 seconds from now. Again, quiet here in Mission Control Houston as teams continue monitoring the flight of Artemis 1. We're now 16 miles downrange from the launch pad at Kennedy Space Center, traveling over 2,800 miles per hour. Standing by for solid rocket booster jettison and shortly thereafter.
There they go. Wait, is there go?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Confirmation that the solid rocket boosters have separated these 177-foot boosters. Now the core stage continues to power the flight of Orion, all 4 RS-25 engines firing, traveling over 3,400 miles per hour, 46 miles downrange. 2 minutes and 36 seconds into the flight. Hearing nominal calls here in Mission Control Houston. We've still got 4 good engines on the core stage. Next up, we'll be looking for the service module fairing to separate. This is 3 15 by 15 foot fairing panels, providing structural support, protecting the service module. Those will separate at about 3 minutes and 11 seconds into flight, and very shortly thereafter will be followed by the launch abort system separation. Just over 3 minutes into the flight of Artemis 1, now traveling over 4,060 miles per hour, 83 miles downrange. We just had confirmation that the service module fairing has separated. And that the launch abort system pyros have fired, separating those from Orion as well. For future crew members,
What the hell is that noise?
I don't know, but that doesn't sound
we
great.
just heard the call for 3 engine press, meaning if SLS were to lose an engine at this point in the mission, we could still achieve a nominal mission. We would just have an extended main engine cutoff time. However, we still have 4 good engines, all at maximum thrust right now, powering the first flight of Artemis at 5,200 miles per hour, 148 miles downrange.
I wonder what is taking that picture.
I'm pretty sure that's an anime. Yeah,
Is it animation?
I'm pretty sure that's an animation.
Well,
4 minutes and 16 seconds into the flight of Artemis 1. So far, we've had a clean ascent. We saw those solid rocket boosters jettison about 2 minutes and 11 seconds after liftoff. Shortly after, we had the service module panels, fairings separate, as well as the launch abort system. The launch abort system was inert for this flight, except to perform this separation. Those 4 core stage engines will continue to fire and power the flight of Artemis.
I want to see some video from the spacecraft.
Booster flight controller reports that the engines are looking good.
I'm not sure there's much to see because I mean they're probably, since they're doing this at night and now they're
Right.
you know
Right.
the
Our
atmosphere.
core stage main engine cutoff time is about 8 minutes and 3 seconds. We are now at 5 minutes and 11 seconds into the flight, 7,656 miles per hour. Again, 4 good core stage engines, those 4 RS-25 engines. The last time those core stage engines flew, they were taking space shuttles to orbit, and now with upgraded capabilities, they're launching the future of human spaceflight.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That's neat that they recycled them. I think that's very cool.
5 minutes, 42 seconds into the mission, we are now traveling 8,800 miles per hour, 345 miles
Amazing.
downrange from the launch pad at Kennedy Space Center.
It's going to be 25 and a half days.
Again, we are anticipating core stage main engine cutoff at about 8 minutes and 3 seconds. And about 10 seconds later, we'll see core stage separation, at which point Orion and the interim cryogenic propulsion stage will be flying free.
I've seen video of stage
Now
separations
traveling over 10,000
Right.
miles per hour,
from
6
Apollo. I
minutes
was
and
hoping
15
we'd
seconds into the flight of
at
Artemis
least get
1,
to see that
427
as
miles
well.
downrange. Quiet here on the loops in Mission Control Houston. Teams continue to monitor this first flight.
I don't remember it taking that long to get to the moon when we went in Apollo, but maybe I'm just not remembering it right.
About a minute and a half now until that core stage main engine cutoff time. Our 4 core stage engines continue to fire maximum thrust.
In Salvage 1, they got there in 3 days.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast called We Got This, which is where they debate things. And one of the last episode, they're being like best.
Coming up on 7 minutes since launch today, now traveling over 12,800 miles per hour, 563 miles downrange. Again, still quiet here in Mission Control Houston.
Like best show that was canceled before its time.
Yeah.
And one of the guests
As we prepare for main engine cutoff, the 4 RS-25 engines are beginning to throttle down.
Dropped
Salvage 1. Yeah.
And this is the problem is when you in your pilot, when you go to the moon, where do you go from there?
Right, exactly.
30 seconds now until core stage main engine cutoff. All 4 engines continue to throttle down.
You have to find a Japanese soldier that still thinks World War II is going on.
Now 7 minutes, 45 seconds into the flight, traveling over 16,000 miles per hour. Continuing to hear good calls here in Mission Control Houston. We're standing by for core stage main engine cutoff. And we have confirmation of core stage main engine cutoff. Orion is now in Earth's orbit.
Yes.
Flight Dynamics Officer reports that we have a nominal main engine cutoff. And we just heard the call for core stage separation. That means Orion and the interim cryogenic propulsion stage are now flying free from the core stage of the Space Launch System. The next milestone will be solar array deploy approximately 18 minutes after liftoff. But before Orion stretches its wings, let's check back in with our friends at Kennedy Space Center and hear all about what it was like to hear the rocket roar off the launch pad. Megan and Kayla, I've got to hear all about it.
Well, if you're just joining us, welcome to NASA's Kennedy Space Center, where we just watched Artemis 1 launch, our first step towards our next adventure into deep space. As Leah said, I'm NASA's Megan Cruz, and this is NASA astronaut Kayla Barron. And I'm kind of still giddy and speechless. I don't even know how to explain how I'm feeling right now.
I feel the same way. This is the first launch that I've been able to watch in person. And I've got to say, it was incredible. It took my breath away and I was tearing up. Just what an amazing accomplishment for this team, this international team, people who have been dedicating their careers to getting this rocket off the ground and taking the first step to getting a crew on that vehicle back to the moon. It was just incredible.
Yeah, this is a moment I think that we're all going to remember where we were when we saw this sort of thing, you know what I mean? And it was great to see, again, when we entered into terminal count, everybody here just started cheering, coming out to get a really good view. And boy, I mean, it lit up the night sky and it just shook everything around us. Did you feel that? Like in my bones, I felt that.
Oh yeah. The cool thing is just kind of the delay between what you see and what you hear, because of course the sound travels a little bit slower. And it was just amazing. The ground shook. We could hear the thrust pushing that rocket into space. 8.8 million pounds of thrust.
Yes.
It's incredible. It was amazing to see here live in person.
How does it compare? So this is your first launch on the ground. How does it compare to your launch when you're in the capsule soaring towards space?
I mean, equally emotional, I think. We train for everything. And so when we're in that capsule waiting for launch, we're just running our procedures. You could almost, trick us and say that we were in the simulator and it wasn't real. But in that moment of liftoff, when the thrust builds underneath you, like we saw it today, it's just hard not to be overwhelmed by the emotional experience, the excitement, the joy of that moment. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think we can't say it enough. This team really deserved this moment. They've been working so hard before this moment, when I heard that we got into terminal count, it was, I felt a sense of relief and excitement for them that I think everybody here did. You know, we really wanted them to succeed. We really wanted to see the launch today. And wow, I will never forget this.
Me neither. It was an incredible experience to be here and see that happen.
Yeah. Was there anything that was particularly surprising to you? Again, this is your first launch. You know, what were you expecting?
You know, I think we also had a nighttime launch for our launch. And so I think one thing you underestimate is how much it lights up the night sky. We were able to watch it all the way through that trajectory. We were able to see the boosters separate and everything. So it was just an incredible view. It's amazing how much you get to see of the flight path when it's at night and sliding up the sky.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed this, but we see the moon here, and the trajectory of the rocket looked like it was flying towards me. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my God, that's so poetic. It's so beautiful. I'm so glad we launched today.
Yeah.
Well, you know, there's video proof of where we were when it went up.
So we're going to head over to Daryl, who was at the launch team. Daryl, you got to count us down through that, through liftoff. I mean, how was that being in the launch control center with them?
Well, Megan, it was something else. I got to tell you, you're looking live inside the firing room where Charlie Blackwell Thompson is about to address her team after a whole lot of hard work and preparation to get to this moment. Let's stand by and listen to her now.
Comm check. But you can't hear it in the room. Can you guys hear me? No.
Oh.
Where's the AV club?
Yeah, right.
The room can't. You can hear me? Because the guys.
Well, maybe not.
Listen, if this is where they fuck up, it's
Right.
better than the other.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like she obviously has a speech prepared.
Right. Clearly. Yeah, clearly.
Well, it's a historic moment. You want to.
Yeah.
You try turning it on and turning it off and back on again.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Peabody.
quiet, you.
Here, let me jiggle this cable. Yeah, I thought that was really spectacular.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I thought that was thrilling. Yeah.
It was, although it ironically because it is at night.
There we go.
Right. There we go.
Is he ready for me?
Jimmy fixed it.
Yay, Jimmy.
Well, for once, I might be speechless.
I don't think so.
No.
So you guys know I have talked a lot about appreciating the moment that you're in. And we have worked hard as a team. You guys have worked hard as a team for this moment. This is your moment. It is not by chance that you are here today. So I want you to look around. Look around.
Oh. I hope they can hear it. Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. There's.
Very often.
Yep.
Once in a career, maybe. But we are all part of something incredibly special. The first launch of Artemis. The first step in return.
Well, they are having mic issues. They are still having mic issues.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for your resilience. You know, I said at the pre-test briefing, the harder the climb, the better the view. We showed the Space Coast tonight. What a beautiful view it is. So congratulations. So we got a couple of traditions here in launch control. And the first one is when you're in the position for the first time, you get a tie cutting. And so I have my launch director scissors. And I'm going to get my tie cut by a couple of legends that are here. And then anyone who wants their tie cut will be making the rounds in the firing room. You got your console chiefs. If they want to do it, that's fine. If you want me to do it, you might have to wait a little while, but I'll stay all night if I have to. It'll be my pleasure to cut ties. So I'm going to take care of mine. And then I have one other presentation that I want to make this evening.
Oh, look, it's Patrick Stewart.
Boy, he's everywhere.
Yeah, he is.
That's not a good view of the tie cutting. There we go.
I don't know who those guys are.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, she should have been.
I'm assuming they're former astronauts or former, like.
This is Charlie Blackwell Thompson, Artemis 1 launch director. She just got her tie cut. That is a tradition here at NASA. We just got to hear her talk to the team. And one thing that really stuck out to me that she said is that they really earned their place in history. We're coming up on solar array deploy. Let's go on to Leah.
Thanks, Megan. And yes, we're here in Mission Control Houston, still monitoring the Artemis 1 mission and the first flight of Orion atop the Space Launch System. So far, we saw successful liftoff at 1:47 a.m. Eastern Time, all the way through separation from the core stage. We now have Orion and the interim cryogenic propulsion stage flying free. And we've just heard that we have initiated solar array deploy. So we are turning our focus to that. The spacecraft was running on battery power, but stretching these wings will allow it to stop relying on those batteries and significantly extend the time it can stay in space. So solar array deploy takes about 12 minutes. We have 4 solar arrays that we need to deploy and latch. These will provide power to the spacecraft on its journey to distant retrograde orbit.
Uh-oh. Oh.
I think they need a new AV director at NASA.
Well, it looks like we lost Chris.
Chris, maybe he went to Nature Called, or his wife, or one of his children who are up way too late.
Yeah, we're still live. Okay. Oh, right. So...
It's very exciting. It is, because they had so many problems before, obviously, I mean, they had some technical snafus, it like I said, in science fiction, there's this, acceptance thing where you can just hop in a spaceship and fly off into space.
Right.
And like Han Solo quickly calculates your jump to light speed, but it is the list of things you have to check before, I'm going to call, this a primitive spaceship compared to stuff we've seen in cinema and TV.
I mean, they're essentially sitting on top of a. Wait, is this a real? What are we looking at now?
I don't know.
I almost thought that was a real live view from Artemis itself.
The way the movement seems very CG. But
well, that's CG.
The other one seems CG too, because the way the movie was that sort of like weird stuttery. There you go. You wondered what happened to you.
I went to pee.
Of course, if you recall the Apollo capsule design, there were no solar arrays. We had fuel cells instead. So this design with arrays gives us the opportunity to stay in orbit longer, since we practically have no limit to the energy available for use from the sun.
Right.
Coming up on 21 minutes since liftoff. Orion is attached to the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. You can see those 4 solar arrays unfolding now. And again, Artemis 1 is a flight test. It's paving the way for a sustainable presence at the moon. Looking forward to the future. Gateway will be our space station in lunar orbit. And we have some similarities and differences in the solar arrays unfolding right now on Orion and those that'll be on Gateway.
I think that's a real picture.
Now,
Yeah, I do
deploying
too.
autonomously. The Gateway solar arrays will as well. And while these generate those 11 kilowatts of power, the 2 rollout solar arrays, or ROSAs, on Gateway will generate 60 kilowatts of power. That ROSA design is currently being tested aboard the space station. We have 2 new ones installed and a spacewalk conducted earlier today, preparing for another set.
I think that's a real picture too.
Yeah, I think that's a real picture too. Yeah.
Coming up on 22 minutes since liftoff today, Orion and the interim cryogenic propulsion stage traveling over 16,800 miles per hour. The solar arrays deploying now are part of the European Service Module. It's comprised of 20,000 parts and components. The service module was developed as part of an agreement between NASA and the European Space Agency, or ESA. This is the first time NASA is using a European-built system as a critical element to power an American spacecraft.
Interesting. They were talking about that partnership and how Europe couldn't do this themselves. America maybe could, but that it advances them so much to be able to do it together.
Yeah.
They have so many more resources they can tap that way. Both for personnel and for, resources.
I think it's an encouraging sign that there are, we're doing sort of joint missions with other nations.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Very sort of Federation forward.
Yeah, exactly. Federation forward. Yeah.
I'm enjoying looking at that center map there, showing where the nighttime portion of the world is and the daylight portion is.
Right.
It is.
I wish I'd been able to go full screen with this. I don't really know why, but maybe it's because they want to know.
I mean, I think for the purposes of
it
looks smaller to us because we're on StreamYard, but I think people who are watching it, it's if anyone is still watching it other than us.
Well,
now
2 people.
24 minutes into the flight of Artemis 1, spacecraft now traveling at 16,500 miles per hour around the Earth. We are in solar array deploy, and we have confirmation all 4 arrays are deployed.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool. I want to know where that camera is mounted to, that it's getting that great shot like that.
Well, presumably on the outside.
But
Coming up in a little less than 30 minutes is the perigee raise maneuver.
Oh, cool. So, and the only reason I know this is because I saw the pregame show.
Right.
Perigee is the point in the orbit where it's closest to Earth.
Right.
And apogee is the farthest point away, and they're planning on doing a burn at perigee to lift the orbit so that it is more circular.
Right.
So that there's not so big a difference between perigee and apogee.
Yep.
We have a slingshot effect, as it were. You have the time travel.
I didn't understand that part where they're talking about something is going into orbit around the sun. I didn't get that.
They are so there is the, what do they call it? The cryogenic burn unit, or whatever they will call it. That there is a unit that they're going to be using to.
And with our launch at 1:41 Eastern time this morning, we are looking for a perigee raise maneuver about 53 minutes into today's flight. Again, we are now 25 minutes and 47 seconds into the flight, and we have a complete deployment of all 4 solar arrays. Orion's journey to the moon continues as planned. Again, looking forward to that perigee raise maneuver. That'll be coming up again at about 53 minutes into the mission, so about 27 minutes from now. During the perigee raise maneuver, the interim cryogenic propulsion stage will use its RL-10 engine to lift the lowest point of Orion in Earth's orbit. The current orbit is more of an oval shape than a perfect circle, and this burn will raise that point closest to Earth and make the orbit more circular.
There you go.
This will also include a checkout of Orion's systems and any adjustments to the solar arrays. It'll be a short burn, less than 30 seconds long, but critical to keep us on track. And it also prepares us for the next engine burn to send Orion to the moon. That's the translunar injection burn. That'll come up a little later, which is a longer burn, another firing of the RL-10 engine on the interim cryogenic propulsion stage.
So the something something cryogenic stage,
right?
That is an engine that is going.
We caught a glimpse there of those solar arrays, and with all 4 solar arrays properly deployed, Orion's journey to the moon continues, and we've got more operational updates coming up shortly. But for now, I'm going to toss it back to Megan and Kayla at Kennedy.
Leah, thank you so much. Our return to
hang
the
on, I'm
moon
gonna
different than the last time. We plan to
I want to hear what you have
more
to
of the
say,
lunar
Keith. So hang on,
and learn how to live and work there. With more on our destination.
I'm gonna cut there, Mike.
So,
yeah.
The helial orbit you're talking about. So
right.
They've got that inner cryogenic stage. They're going to use that to boost Artemis out of orbit around Earth and towards the moon.
Right.
Once it has done that, it will have basically left the spacecraft will have left the orbit of Earth, and so they're going to eject that thing. And that thing, since it's out of orbit, it's not going to fall back to Earth, and it's not going to fall into the moon. It's basically going to end up going in an orbit around the sun.
Yeah, I'm just curious why. That's interesting.
Because of the point they're releasing it at.
Yeah, I see.
If they were to release it now, it would fall back to Earth.
Right.
But they're going to release it after they leave Earth's orbit, and they will still have to do some course corrections with whatever's left, with the engines that they have left on Artemis.
Right.
After they've ejected that thing.
Right.
So that thing is just going to keep going, wee.
Yeah.
And apparently, wee means you go into orbit around the sun.
Yeah, so we're already polluting space.
Yeah.
Nice going.
And so
everything are garbage.
Don't worry, space is big. We could never fill it up.
Genesis rock was dated
challenge accepted.
billion years old from the primordial beginnings of our solar system. But as Kayla said a little bit earlier, those missions were measured in days. Their spacewalks in just hours. With Artemis, we're looking to go and we're looking to stay. And we're not looking around the equator like under Apollo. We're looking at the lunar South Pole. Now, why? So we haven't sent people since the 70s to the moon, but we haven't stopped studying it. We've had orbiters like the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, which has literally just been flying loops around the moon, taking high-resolution images of the surface. So high resolution that you can look them up. They have images of all the different Apollo landing sites, and you can actually see the footprints, the paths they left in the lunar regolith of those sites. We had a mission called L-Cross, which slammed a probe into a crater on the moon, sending out material, some of which potentially hadn't seen direct sunlight for billions of years, and then analyzing what shot out. And through missions like that and others, we've been able to find that there is water ice trapped in those permanently shadowed areas on the moon. A lot of them center around that South Pole. We have already identified 13 potential landing sites for the Artemis 3 mission. And these are where we're going to send our astronauts around the lunar South Pole to access that water ice. Now, why water? Why are we caring about water? Well, it serves a lot of purposes. Obviously, for humans, you need that to breathe. You can split water apart, get oxygen for breathing gas for an atmosphere. If you have a lunar base, you can split it into oxygen and hydrogen. That's rocket fuel. We just launched the most powerful rocket in history using those constituent parts.
Right.
And so you can start to live off the land. We can use that, something called in situ resource utilization. And really, the whole point of that is to use the moon as this proving ground. We're trying to get to Mars. We're trying to learn to live on other planets where there is gravity, where we're going to have to use resources there on the ground because we won't be able to bring everything with us. And by going to the lunar South Pole, by going to stay under Artemis, we're going to be able to start practicing that. We're going to perfect those systems, perfect those techniques and operations we need to do that so we can use the moon as that jumping off point to Mars and beyond. So that's why the moon. We're going to see Orion fly around it for the very first time in just a couple of days. That launch was spectacular.
Oh, there you
I'm still
go.
way too excited, but can't wait to see some shots of the moon from up close from Orion. So I'll send it back over to you, Megan.
So that sort of answers my question, because I don't remember it taking 26 days to go to the moon before.
Right. Well, it's 26 days to go there, do stuff, and come back.
And come back. Right. I get that. So, any rate, it's 2:20 in the morning, guys. Do you want to keep up with this, or do you want to say so long? And
I don't think anything is really like that. I don't want to undercut the momentous nature of this
Apparently
moment, but I don't think there's.
I'm.
What?
Hello?
Are you there, Leo?
Yeah. I'm not sure there's much more we're going to see.
Right. But
Yeah,
I thought this was spectacular, and I was very excited to get to watch it with you guys, which was a lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun too. I was like a little kid. I'm looking here going, just like proof of six. What's with her? She was like, I didn't have any audio there, but she had this like, I'm frightened, I'm scared.
Yeah,
of
she looks
look on her
horrified.
face.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
I have no idea.
Maybe we should listen in. Hang on. We'll give a little listen to this, and then we'll get on out of here.
Focused, or how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'd say we were very focused on what was happening up there, just making sure we knew what was happening, because the rocket's it's alive, it's creaking, it's making venting noises, it's pretty scary. So on zero deck, my heart was pumping, my nerves were going, but yeah, we showed up today. I think as soon as we walked up those stairs, we were ready to rock and roll.
And they were telling us a bit about it while you were working on it. You guys were actually just torquing down the valve to prevent or reduce the leak rate or stop the leak. Is that right?
That's right. Just the packing gland is a little loose, so went up there and tightened her up.
Probably still like in this oh my gosh moment, like all of us are. Has it actually hit you, like the role you played today in making Artemis 1 launch?
I still can't believe it. Like I said, it's surreal and just amazing. I don't know about you guys, but
they're nodding along behind you for sure. Anything you want to say to the launch team? Again, this is a big day for the launch team, for you guys, NASA, but really the whole world. I mean, this is a historic launch that I think we'll all remember. Really.
We had a lot of people here helping us out, a lot of teams, firing room. I'm sure that was hectic. And, NASA, Boeing, all the other companies did a great job, and we're glad to be part of it.
One thing I always like to say is spaceflight is a team sport, and I think you guys perfectly demonstrated that today, right? Like, none of us could accomplish this on our own. It takes a really complex team. Nobody can be an expert in all of the systems, all the technology, all the workarounds we might have to do to get a rocket off the pad. So thank you for the role you played in that team today. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah, those were the guys that torqued down the bolts, I guess.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's all. Anywho, that was a lot of fun. It was very exciting. I was glad to be able to be part of that and share it with everybody. And And now I think it's probably time to hit the sack. I got things I got to do for later on today.
All right.
But
Thanks for letting me watch it with you.
Oh yeah,
guys.
that was
I had-
really fun. I'm glad you guys were here to join me. And everybody who watched on air, I think that was great. We had 3 or 4 people watching live. And the nice part of this is now I didn't have to keep my kids up all night. I can have them watch the show and they can see it.
Woo!
So that's
Yes.
good. Yeah. So at any rate, all right, guys, I'm going to sign us out of here. I will see you both in one fashion or another this Thursday, which is
Alrighty.
only a day and a half away. And I'll see you online, however, when we normally chat and so on. And
Alrighty.
maybe I'll get a chance to join the game tomorrow, later on tonight, which would be nice. So I guess that's about it.
There you
Alrighty.
go.
Thank you.
Live logs in
Live
proper.
logs and proper. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Crazy stuff.
Good night,
All
everybody.
right, guys.
Good
Have a
night.
good night, everybody, and we will see you all. Let me get my mouse over here. This darn
In the
thing.
Sunday papers.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, you're right, Keith. I got to get a wired mouse. This is crazy. All right, guys. Have a great week. We'll
You
see you
too.
on Thursday night. Be sure to join us. Truck tonight at our regular time.
You know,
And
strongly recommend. Strongly
yeah.
recommend.
What is that? Oh, the mouse. Yeah.
The mouse. Yes, strongly
I thought
recommend
you
the
were.
mouse.
I was waving.
No.
Him. All right. I'm starting to lose my voice. All right. Have a great day today, guys. And
Good night, guys.
see y'all real soon.
Adios.